It's great to be here. First of all, I want to start by congratulating County Executive Calvin Ball. Thank you so much for including me. I want to thank all of the local leaders and the members of the General Assembly and everyone who has been involved in this very exciting achievement for Ellicott City, for Howard County, and for the state of Maryland. The unprecedented challenges of the past 18 months have served to remind all of us that it is sometimes in the midst of our darkest days that the incredible courage and resilience of Marylanders shines brightest. The citizens, the residents of Ellicott City already knew a lot about resilience after the devastating floods that ravaged the historic town in both 2016 and then again in 2018. And I vividly remember walking down Main Street immediately after the storms had ended to survey the damage. I remember talking with local residents and business owners about what it was going to take to rebuild and to recover. To prevent that kind of devastation from happening again, together with our partners here in Howard County, the state of Maryland committed more than $16 million that we provided for Howard County to assist in flood mitigation and resiliency efforts. And we provided funding for an Ellicott City public alert system. Maryland joined the American Flood Coalition, which brings together the best minds from government, the military, the private sector, and civic groups to advocate for real bipartisan solutions to flooding. And during my term as chairman of the National Governors Association, I led a year-long initiative focused on rebuilding America's crumbling infrastructure. One of the core pillars of that initiative was finding ways to strengthen the physical resiliency of our infrastructure to withstand the effects of weather and climate-related impacts, including flooding. Today, we're taking an important step to do just that as we break ground on this H7 dry flood mitigation pond in order to reduce flows to the Hudson Branch, which passes through downtown Ellicott City. This project, which is part of Howard County's comprehensive, safe and sound plan for Ellicott City, is a shining example of Marylanders working together to protect our communities and our local economies and in order to save lives. And our administration is proud to partner with Howard County. We're proud to have strongly supported these efforts literally since day one. Earlier this summer, my partner in government, who's from right here in Howard County, Lieutenant Governor Rutherford, represented me at the Board of Public Works, where we approved a $2.4 million grant to help fund the construction of this stormwater detention basin. This funding comes from the State Flood Mitigation Grant Program that our administration re-energized, revitalized, and championed specifically so that we could help communities like Ellicott City with the impact of climate change. It is more important than ever, that we support smart waterway infrastructure improvements and projects just like this to protect our local towns and communities. So I'm proud that this important project is a reflection of our ongoing commitment to climate resiliency, infrastructure investment, and bipartisan common sense partnerships and solutions. This is truly just one more way that together we're changing Maryland for the better, and I want to congratulate every single person who has been involved in making this possible. Thank you very much for having me.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining me in Ellicott City to celebrate this exciting milestone. I'd especially like to thank Governor Hogan for joining us today and for his partnership in keeping Ellicott City safe and sound. Within the first 30 days of becoming county executive, Governor Hogan offered me some time, and we sat down and talked about a myriad of issues. And at the top of that was Ellicott City. And the governor and the state's partnership has never wavered. Our goal since adopting Ellicott City's Safe and Sound plan is to keep our residents safe, reduce the amount of floodwater in historic Ellicott City, and preserve the historic nature of our town. Today, thanks to many of our partners, we're pleased to celebrate this groundbreaking of the H7 dry flood mitigation pond, which is already under construction behind me. The H7 pond is the first of many retention conveyance projects we will construct to mitigate flooding under our EC Safe and Sound plan. The retention projects are designed to hold water away from historic Ellicott City and release it slowly once the danger has passed. The conveyance projects are designed to ensure water that is not retained is conveyed to the river as safely as possible. We anticipate construction being complete within 18 months, weather permitting. Once complete, it will provide approximately 13 acre-feet of storage, which is about the same as 10 football fields, each covered with 1 foot of water. This pond will reduce the amount of water that runs off the site by more than 30% in a 100-year storm, keeping more water from flowing to historic Ellicott City during a severe weather event. The design and permitting of this project was a true partnership between Howard County and the state of Maryland. In fact, the state actually owns the land that we're sitting on right now. And we're so grateful to Governor Hogan and the State Highway Administrator Tim Smith for working with us to use this land for this important flood mitigation project. I'd also like to personally thank Senator Katie Fry Hester, Delegate Courtney Watson, Senator Guy Gazzoni, and the entire Howard County State Delegation for advocating every year for funding for this and many of our other safe and sound projects. They have been fierce and strong advocates at the state side for Ellicott City. To date, we've received between $16 and $20 million from the state for Ellicott City projects, including more than $2.4 million for the H7 pond. While the progress made over the last several years was not always as visible as we'd like, our team continues to work tirelessly to move these projects forward innovatively and effectively. Today, the behind-the-scenes work has finally led to where we are today, breaking ground on the first of several upcoming flood mitigation projects. Last week, we released the bid for the Quaker Mill Pond off Rogers Avenue, another dry flood mitigation facility in Ellicott City, and we expect to break ground on that project early next year. We're hoping to start the necessary building removals and the construction of the Maryland Avenue culvert next year, pending completion of the federal Section 106 process and receiving CSX approval. We'll be working to renovate the 6 county-owned buildings that are preserved under the Safe and Sound plan, including removing portions of the buildings that are under the stream channel, over the stream channel rather. And finally, in the coming weeks, we will commence the design process for the extended North Tunnel project. The North Tunnel is the single most impactful project in our Safe and Sound plan, and we are moving as fast as possible to get through the design phase so that we can hopefully break ground next year. I'm excited about the progress that we've already made and look forward to celebrating many more groundbreakings in the months to come. As always, we will continue to work closely with our community, our partners across government, and our residents and businesses to make sure that Ellicott City stays safe and sound for years to come. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the county for all their incredible work to bring the EC Safe and Sound plan to life. I also want to thank my state colleagues who helped secure the $16 to $20 million from the state to make the whole plan possible. I know it looks like we're standing in the middle of grass at the interchange of routes 29 and 40, However, this is not your average infrastructure project. After the 2018 flood, our community came together to donate food and supplies for those who were impacted. I met neighbors, restaurant owners, university professors, and other engineers mucking out the basements of antique stores, and much more. Over the past year and a half, our incredible business owners have pivoted their operations to keep their customers and employees safe from the pandemic. So this is a uniquely resilient town, full of resilient people, and together we are EC strong. That said, the flooding here in Ellicott City highlights a problem that is not unique in Maryland. As a coastal state on the Chesapeake Bay and its countless tributaries, flooding impacts every single jurisdiction in the state. But fixing these issues requires large-scale infrastructure projects and significant investment, which leaves the counties and municipalities like us dependent on pulling funding from the state and federal level. Luckily, Delegate Watson and myself have found ways to leverage multiple sources of funding. I wanted to talk briefly about Senate Bill 901, the Resilient Maryland Revolving Loan Fund, in the Maryland Emergency Management Agency. It will provide low or no interest loans to counties, municipalities, and nonprofits for local resilience projects to mitigate all hazards, including natural disasters. Working with my state partners, we put $25 million of capital funding into this fund this year. And as soon as the funding becomes available at the federal level, MEMA will be able to capitalize up to $225 million of federal funds through the STORM Act. Then, utilizing these funds from the revolving loan fund, local governments, such as our own, can pull up to $750 million more of federal grants through BRIC, the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grants at the federal level. I want to emphasize this again. With this legislation, we will be able to get 40 times the investment return on state funding for local government projects. So what this means for communities and for the Ellicott City Safe and Sound Plan is that once established, we could take out a no-interest loan through the revolving loan fund, use it as collateral. For example, if we took out a $10 million loan, we could use it as collateral for a $30 million BRIC grant, and then complete a $40 million project for the EC Safe and Sound project with only a small, low-interest loan to repay to the state. And every jurisdiction across the state of Maryland will be able to do the same thing. Next year, we will celebrate Ellicott City's 250th birthday. This city is the birthplace of many firsts. We had the first railroad, the first national road, the first state park, Patapsco, and soon we will be one of the first mill towns to ever rebuild itself into a model for climate resilience. This 13-acre pond we're standing next to is the beginning of our next 250 years. And because we have members of the press today, I just have to say it. If you're at home watching this, come visit Ellicott City. Join us for Thursday open mic, courtyard concerts, second Saturday kids fun, the Mount Misery ghost tour, outdoor summer movies, comedy in the courtyard, girls' night out for shopping, and of course, many, many great restaurants. There truly is something here for everyone. Come visit, and you'll just never want to leave.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank County Executive Calvin Ball and his administration, and Governor Hogan and his administration for your commitment to historic Ellicott City. And I agree with everything that has been said today. I especially want to highlight the remarks that Senator Hester just made, because what turned out to be a terrible tragedy for our town in Ellicott City led to a solution created by essentially Senator Hester and several people working with her to help towns across the state to find money to pay for infrastructure projects that counties can't afford to pay for and that the state certainly can't afford to pay for by leveraging state bond money to bring federal dollars to our towns. So while we have a problem, we are not only solving our problem, but we're helping other jurisdictions solve theirs in future years. The catalyst for this progress that I'm talking about today is teamwork. And the way that the community supports the town, the way the governor allocated funds in his last two budgets specifically for Ellicott City, the way the county executive has worked with us to figure out a funding strategy, and the way the state legislature And I want to especially thank Mark Chang, Delegate Mark Chang, who's the Vice Chair of the Appropriations Committee in the House, who's here with us today. The way the state legislature supported several bills to help with climate change-related flooding impacts. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to Speaker Adrian Jones, who walked Ellicott City with me 2 summers ago to look at the amount of damage that had occurred and what it would take to fix it. She understood the challenge of funding a $140 million flood management infrastructure project. And in both the 2020 session and in this past session, she worked with President Bill Ferguson and the chairs of both budget committees to find additional funds for the project. In total, she and President Ferguson moved about $15 million over 2.5 years to the Ellicott City Safe and Sound program, which is part of the $16 to $20 million you've heard the governor and Senator Hester and the county executive talk about. Bottom line is we simply could not be here today without the teamwork of each person I've mentioned and many more. There's no substitute for that, and we have far longer odds of success without that teamwork. So again, thank you, County Executive, Mr. Governor, and Senator Hester for being really the best teamwork, best team members that we could ask for as a community. And especially, I want to thank the community of Howard County that has supported Ellicott City through these last 2 floods and will continue to support it in the future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Pineda. I am the Executive Director for the Ellicott City Partnership, the representing and managing entity for Ellicott City Historic District. I'm honored to be here today along our elected and stakeholders as we break ground to a much-needed project. There's no hiding the challenges that Main Street has faced, and our community at large has been resilient time and again throughout these difficulties. We have lost businesses and, most importantly, people. We are thankful to the county executive and the leadership team, our electeds within the General Assembly and the legislature, for continuing to keep the best interests of our town in mind and funding these mitigation plans. The H7 pond will not only help retain water, but will be the factor to saving Main Street. As Senator Freihester said, please visit us on Main Street because you are the impact in our community. Thank you.